to a Hope 1032 podcast.
Hello, welcome to Season 5 of Raising Teens. I'm your host, Collett Smart. I'm a psychologist, a teacher, and also a parent in the middle of raising my own teen and young adult children. I started this podcast because I know that many teens are struggling, and I wanted to create an online village of support for parents. I'm joined again this season by well-known experts on teen mental health and well-being. I have such hope for this generation of young people, so each episode is jam-packed with support so that you can get on with the job that you do best. That is, connecting with and loving your teen. Claire Eaton is a national speaker, youth coach, and author of 4 books and the audio Pep Talks program for teens. Claire began her career as a teacher and a deputy principal, where she worked for over 20 years, which quickly led to her deep interest in prevention-based social, mental, and emotional health for young people. In 2007, Claire left education to share her message as a speaker and opened her own youth coaching practice in Perth, which is still successfully supporting teenagers and their families. Claire also draws on her rich experience to share prevention-focused well-being messages and strategies with audiences of all ages at seminars, conferences, and community events. Hello, Claire. Welcome to Raising Teens.
Hi, Collett. How are you?
I'm so well. I am so excited to have you on the podcast. You and I have been following each other's work, I think, for quite a long time.
We have.
But we've never actually met in person because you're in WA. And so I'm just excited that my listeners can be introduced to you and find some of your amazing resources. You have a wealth of experience in working with teens. You write books especially for teens themselves. And one of them that's sitting right here next to me is called Rock and Rise. So for my listeners, ROC is the rock, and it stands for resilience, optimism, and confidence. This book is a combination of tips and strategies for teens, but it also has this journaling element. As a fellow teacher, I can see your teacher training all over this book. It's fantastic, Claire. So in the book, it starts with explaining why you chose ROC, R-O-C. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about why you chose those letters?
Yeah, so great question. Drawing on my education background and my role as a parent and coaching teenagers for so long, they just stood out. Resilience, optimism, and confidence were 3, character traits that I could really see that teenagers needed the how-to guide around. Because let's face it, we're telling kids all the time, you need to be more resilient. You need to be more optimistic and confident. Yeah. And the feedback that I was getting for them was, how? show me how to do this.
Wow,
and
yes.
And I thought, wow, it's such a simple thing that as adults, we just expect that, very respectfully, that kids know how to do this.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? They need the nuts and bolts. They need us to step them through that. So that's what I did.
Yeah, beautiful. So our topic today is really talking about preparing for high school. And it's that time of year when tweens will be finishing off their primary years. Some kids will be super excited to start high school, and others find this time really challenging. I even think some of the confident kids, I know from my own work, and you'll be obviously very aware of this, some of the confident kids, even just as they're about to start, their confidence wobbles a little bit. So what are the top priorities that you see for parents and young people at the start of high school or in this period of preparing?
Yeah. So in the couple of months before, our kids start in their first few weeks of high school, is a lot of their fear is around, will I be able to do high school?
Yeah.
And that really drills down into the content They start to significantly doubt their ability. Can I handle high school? Am I smart enough? Will I be able to keep up? So from a parent and a tween perspective is we've got to know that the three things we want our kids to know when they step into high school is that they will be able to belong, they will find their crew, their people, and they will find their safe space.
Yeah.
So we're really looking at their emotional, social needs well ahead of their academic needs. So we're pulling them back from the academic, and we're just helping them land in this, hey, let's deal with this first. Let's get you sorted in the first couple of weeks of term, the first term of the year as well, so that you feel safe, comfy, secure. Then we'll talk about the academic stuff.
Yeah.
If and when we get to that.
That's fantastic because unless our kids feel safe and secure, they won't be able to learn.
Well, their brain will just see that as a threat and it will go into stress mode. And we know that a young brain with excess cortisol is not going to be creative. It's not going to go with the flow. It's not going to be itself. So we want our kids to feel that they've got that chilled brain, they can approach things, get that serotonin, oxytocin going that's like, I've got this, I can do this high school thing. And one big thing that I say to all year sixes going into year sevens is, imagine you've got your L plates on for high school.
Yeah.
And that year seven is about learning how to do high school. That's your job in year seven, just to learn how to be there, how it all works, all the unwritten rules and just get the hang of it. So then they have this belief that I can do that. I can turn up and learn and get involved.
Yeah, so it's less overwhelming. So your book that relates to this for tweens and teens themselves is called Hello High School. And in this book, I see it covers school zones, home zones, friendship zones, courage, success, and lots of other topics for them in the book. Can you give parents some ideas about what they can do then to support their young person feeling a bit anxious? What are the tools or tips that they need to know about?
Okay, so this book is really derived from my work with tweens in term 4, so just before they start high school the next year. And these were the main things they wanted to talk to me about. How am I going to go, juggling the home stuff, the school stuff? So 3 things that I think parents need to know as well is whenever they can help shift their child's perspective. So children will come up with one view and they'll hang on to it, especially if feels a little bit stressful for them. So will I be okay? Will I be able to cope with the homework? Will I be able to get on with all the teachers? And if parents can just gently guide their thinking of, that's one way to look at it, what's another way we could look at this? And we're just showing them a different perspective. That's a key tool going into year 7. It just loosens things up a little bit.
It's so important that we don't brush off our teens' feelings of stress at starting high school because we are looking at it from an adult's perspective. You and I might look back and think, what was there to be stressed about? But this doesn't make their stress invalid. Starting high school is such a major change at the time that their brains and their bodies are changing. They haven't yet learned some of the emotional coping skills or even some of the practical planning and time management skills that we just take for granted.
So one way to look at it, and if you can't think of another way, I'll help you think of another way. The second thing I say is just encourage yourself as a parent because we feel their angst too. Yes. We feel it. So whenever we can think, stressful thought, how can I switch that for a curious thought? How can I kind of just peer over the fence and think, what cool things could be ahead of us rather than what stressful or anxiety-inducing things could be ahead of us? So it's very much a team effort. And the third thing is, I can't stress this enough, drop the comparisons. Just drop it. Between, mums and dads talking about how excited my child is for high school, and you might be thinking, I'm not experiencing that at all. So you got to stay in your bubble a little bit and just own where you're at. And every little day is a little step forward, and drop the comparisons, especially if they're unhealthy and leading us down that rabbit hole. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, because all children are different, and even the comparisons between your children, because I've got 3 kids and my kids experience different life happenings, whether it's high school or going to sport or a social event. All of them experience that differently, and we've got to tap into what our child needs that is really relevant to their personality and their temperament. So, yeah, drop the comparisons. That's such a good tip for us. So, Claire, what have you seen to be some of the main obstacles for facing high school starters?
So interestingly enough, it really comes down to the logistics of high school. That's what I see as the major concerns, is that our year 6s are going into high school starting year 7, and a lot of their concern is around, will I be able to manage my time? Will I be able to connect with 7, 8 or 9 different teachers? Will I be able to plan and prioritise my work? And will I be able to get systems and organisational kind of routines in place? So, and often they're scared of this because they actually don't have the skills. Let's face it, their young brain is just really going from that concrete to formal operational stage of development. They're moving from learning through doing to learning more abstractly, and they've got their hormones changing and they're grappling for independence and autonomy. But the things that they really need to do to succeed in high school, they find hard. Their frontal lobe just isn't in that adult space yet. Managing time is huge for a 12 and 13-year-old. It's hard enough for an adult.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really hard. So, and planning and prioritizing and having systems in place. So I would say as a parent, we can tend to say, you're in high school now, you should know how to do this. Well, they didn't learn it over the Christmas holidays.
Exactly.
So
we always hope they've learned it somewhere. I don't know where, but hey.
Bring in that magical potion. So I always think, when it comes to January, is remember that they've probably regressed a little bit over the holidays because they've been having fun and doing what kids do. They haven't been in that learning, planning and organising time frame. And as we say as adults, it's so nice to drop the routine. So they're way out of routine.
Yes.
So I like to think of it as this. When we start high school, we've got to be all in this together. So we are planning, we are looking at systems, we are organising our morning routine. I call it the 7 to 8 routine, and then the 4 to 5 routine, give or take. Those 2 hours are crucial for just bookending our days. And if parents can get involved with that and say, okay, what do we need to manage? How much time do we need to spend on this assignment? And we've really got to be all in, particularly for year 7, particularly.
Okay.
So they're the key, the logistics, the big logistics.
Can you unpack what you just said there, the 7 to 8 routine and the 4 to 5? I'd love you to hear what you say about those.
Yeah, so we know that a young brain feels so supported when it's got sort of, I call them bookends. And I talk about this in one of my pep talks as well, which we'll probably talk about later. And that is when a child has clear structure around what they need to do at the beginning of their day, say it's 7 to 8, whatever the time frame is. So they know that they've got to empty the dishwasher. They know that they need to, shower, dress, fill their lunchbox, send that email off. Anything that they know is relevant for their beginning of the day, their brain thinks, I've got this. And it turns up ready to learn. Left and right brain turns up ready to learn more creatively without, far less cortisol buzzing around, which stops them from learning, stops them from just being free when they arrive at school. So that 7 to 8 period is super important. Now, the involvement of, say, screen time, TV time, social media time in that 7 to 8 can cause a lot of trouble for a young brain that's got so many other things that it needs to think about so that it can turn up, plonk itself at school and do the best it can do.
As Claire just said, technology can interrupt important routines, and taking away the technology can have its own issues. In the next episode, we will have a chat about digital nutrition. But if you think these issues are more severe, go and check out Season 4, Episode 4 on Internet Gaming Disorder.
And what's interesting around that, it's not a punishment.
No.
It's teaching young people that the more distractions we can eliminate, the more they can be present, focus on the priorities, and turn up to school in a space of confidence.
Yeah, it sets them up for success.
Absolutely. So it's not so much about the social media, it's about what they need to turn up feeling great. Yeah. And then I talk about that from 4 to 5, wind up the day, finish off the things they need to do before they dive into just hanging out for the evening with their families.
Great. And then I suppose you would make allowances, or the families would make allowances or adjust routines if there's sport after school. Would you say to parents then perhaps it's not 4 to 5, it might be a 5 to 6 wind down? It's kind of making the time work for what your child's routine looks like in the week.
Absolutely. And when I talk about that in the pep talks, I just use those two as examples. So for some kids, farm kids, for example, they've got to get on buses and travel for an hour to school. Their morning might be 6 till 7.
Yes. Okay.
So, and depending, I think every family is different, but I just say as long as you're bookending the time, it might be 45 minutes from 6 till 7, it might be 7 to 8. So, and this leads in really well to something that I talk about in Hello High School, which is crazy popular with year 7s, 8s and 9s, and that is Sunday setup. So this takes that bookend to the whole nother level. And when I see families all in and doing Sunday setup together, setting themselves up for the week, it gives, I think it builds that empathy as well of how much everyone's actually got on their plate and how much everyone can help one another as well. So that is a really popular technique. So simple. Get the hang of it in year 7. You'll be doing it in year 12 and probably well into your adult life as well.
Well, now that you say it, Claire, I realise I now have a term for what I do on a Sunday. So I'm now going to call it my Claire Sunday setup time because I actually do that naturally because I like organisation and I like routine, and so it helps me think, right, is the washing done of uniforms for the week? Do my children know which chores are coming for the week? Are uniforms set out the night before? Those are things that we've done kind of naturally. So yay, I now have a term for it.
Absolutely.
I'm also thinking how beautiful these bookends are for some of my listeners who have children on the autism spectrum or children with ADHD. We know those kids thrive on routine even more. So this is just a brilliant tip for those families.
Absolutely. And it helps, for the kids that you just mentioned and their families, it just gives them something to hook into, that we all do this together and we know if we do it, it helps us.
Yeah.
And when we feel like we've got a system, we feel more relaxed in ourselves. And that's what we want. We want just harmonious cruising along with less really high peaks and really low troughs.
Yeah. And I know you will be the same, for the parents out there when their bookends go pear-shaped, it's okay. Just get back on the horse the next day. We all have pear-shaped days and it's all right if it hasn't gone too well.
Oh, absolutely. Pear-shaped days are a massive part of life. But, that's part of resilience as well. It's going, whoa, this was not a great day. Hey, it's just one. So what can I dust off to come back tomorrow or later on today? So absolutely, these are character building things for sure in any family.
Dr. Carol Dweck coined the terms fixed mindset and growth mindset. She uses them to describe the underlying belief that people have about learning and intelligence. So if you believe that your qualities are unchangeable, that's a fixed mindset. But she found that when people put value in challenging themselves, they begin to believe their achievements are based on putting in the extra time and effort. This is what she calls the growth mindset. So, Claire, also, I know, there's a lot of chatter about this term mindset. Most of us who have done any talks to schools or parents have spoken about cultivating a growth mindset. I know Carol Dweck, who developed this concept, sometimes talked about how it's used incorrectly, but I know you do a lot on mindset. Can you give us some of your top mindset tips for young people who are starting high school? And what can you encourage parents to do around mindset?
Yeah, okay. So, yes, I agree. Mindset, isn't it a buzzword? And again, one of those words that children and teenagers say to me, show me how to do it. What does it look like? And I really keep the whole mindset idea very simple. And one thing that I like is having the mindset that just because something is new and unfamiliar doesn't necessarily put it straight into the basket that it's going to be hard and super challenging. So I constantly say to teenagers, high school is new, it's unfamiliar. You've done new and unfamiliar things before.
Beautiful.
And I think when we can just hold that space for them to really help them clarify that just because it's new doesn't mean I can't do it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is having that mindset that perfection is so overrated. Completion for a 12-year-old in high school could be the most success-boosting thing that they have done. I have completed this to the best of my ability. I've sent it off, or I've submitted it, or I've ticked it off my to-do list. They get that beautiful little hit of dopamine as well because they've completed something. So I'm constantly talking about aim for completion to the best of your ability, forget perfection. Because one thing I see with young people going into high school, the perfection is based around if I'm perfect, the teacher will think I'm great and like me. My friends will think I'm great and like me. So you can hear that constant I'll be liked if I'm seen to be kind of perfect and doing things of excellent standard all the time.
Quite often, our teens associate their worth based on their success socially or academically, rather than who they are as a person. Listen out for the episode with Dr. Mary Casper on popularity. That's coming up later in the season.
So, and another thing that I talk about in terms of mindset is having the mindset that you look for opportunity at school rather than constantly digging for challenges and problems and issues. So be that. I always picture a meerkat when I think of this. Meerkats are always, stepping up and looking for danger and to warm their little tribe. And I always say, just don't be the meerkat looking for danger. Be the meerkat that's sitting up and looking for the greatness in situations and what can I learn here? What do I know here? What can I contribute? Where do I feel comfy? So just flipping that over a little bit. And if I've got time for one more.
Yes, you do.
The mindset that we don't have to be in control of everything and across everything.
Yeah, control.
And a little slogan that I have, I even breathe differently when I say this, and that is less force, more flow. And for a young person going into high school, you don't have to be across everything. You've got amazing teachers that are going to give you the guide rails that you need to be okay. And there's experts in their area. You just need to turn up and just go with it and trust that you'll be okay with this. You'll be okay.
Yeah. Just encouraging them to sometimes trust some of the adults and the teachers and those in their lives who care
and
for them.
themselves.
Yeah, themselves. You're absolutely right, Claire. I see so much in your book, in both of the books here sitting next to me, your Hello High School and The Rock and Rise. There's a lot of tips in there where you talk about this looking for opportunities, not just, you talk about staying away from friendship dramas and looking for places you can be a good friend. It's really tapping into how can I be positive and look for something positive in my world.
And I'm glad that you've noticed that, because a really key element for me in the coaching that I do with teenagers is very much around owning it. Owning yourself, owning who you are and what you're capable of doing. And that takes a bit of courage and bravery to own the good things, the bad things, the wacky things, the mistakes, the successes. So, there's a lot going on for our young people and their families.
Yeah, when they do something hard, to show them or tell them that you've noticed how brave they were, or they showed courage in doing something that might have been difficult, or they did that they were afraid of last time. But look at you. Look how you've done this.
Yeah.
That is part of encouraging growth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you said there taps in beautifully to it's very easy for a young brain to search for evidence of past failures. Yeah. We want to encourage our children to train the young brain to search for evidence of past successes or, joyful moments or times where you've gone, I did that. That was me. I succeeded in a beautiful, humble and gracious way. I think it's beautiful to help our kids be that.
Yeah. So I know, Claire, that many parents at the moment are struggling to get their teens to see a professional because there are such long waiting lists. And you started something for teens to help with this. So tell us a little bit about your pep talks for teens.
Oh, look, they haven't been out for very long. And when I released them, I just thought, you know what? I think this is what our young people all around the world need is they're topic specific. So I've released about 15 of them so far. And what it means is that parents can pop on, they can see a specific topic that might be exactly what their teen needs to read about right now or listen to right now. They can purchase that, lands in their account, and teenagers can log in and listen anywhere they are. So it's self-paced, so it might be they log into number 1, which is anxiety, doubt and worry, or they log into number 7, which is mindset, happiness and energy. So they can pick and choose what they need. And the cool thing is they've got them forever.
Right.
So whenever they want to tap in and listen, they can. So I've dedicated, they're about an hour, so divided into 3 parts. Okay. So about 20 minutes each. And that was the ideal time, interestingly, that teenagers said they wanted them to be about 20 minutes each, which I thought was, I think we underestimate them sometimes,
I love that, Claire, because we always hear about them being, the having no concentration span and they really just, they show up when we need them to and when they need it. This is just another example of something positive about teens. So go on.
Yeah, and I think you're right, is that one thing we notice with teens is when they're invested, when they're all in, they're in. They know how to concentrate. Yeah. We see them when they're doing things that they love. Yeah. They can do it for hours. So what I notice is that even when I go and present in schools, say I've got 400 year 9s sitting in an auditorium, they're in.
Yeah.
They sit, and because I think they get the importance of this for themselves. Because they actually want to feel pretty good, and they know that in order to feel pretty good, they need to grab information and they need to use it. Try it on, see how it fits. And they're very keen. I don't know if you've noticed, but very keen to have some more skills to be able to support their friends as well.
Absolutely.
You know, because this is a big thing for them to fit in and belong and feel connected. So for them to know that they can give their friends a few little tips and share a bit of wisdom, that's a game changer for friendships as well, that real strong connection.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today, Claire. Thank you for your wisdom. And I know you are the same as me, where we just want the best for our teens and our parents who are starting high school. So for the listeners out there, if you are a parent of a young person starting high school, good luck to you and your child starting their next chapter in schooling. And go and find Claire's pep talks and her books. I really think some of these books are ones that your teenagers need to have on their bedside table. Thank you, Claire.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Hope it was helpful, everyone.
This chat with Claire reminded me again about the importance of routines, especially for lowering anxiety levels, but also forming part of training our teens in time management and planning skills. If you would like to know more about Claire and her books, you can find her at claireeaton.com.au. You can also find me or leave a question for a future episode at raisingteens.au or via the Raising Teens page at hopepodcast.com.au. Please subscribe and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'd love to see you next episode, and in the meantime, keep parenting with your teen's future adult in mind.
This episode was hosted by Collett Smart, edited and produced by Alec Green, imaging by Lucy Weil, and social media by Beth Rivers.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.